Friendship supreme. Friendship supreme. Finding the geek within.
Hey everybody, my name is Michael.
Please.
Welcome back to an exciting episode of Friendship Supreme. I've been taking away the Supreme from Cleve.
It's more often in this episode that you silenced me. But, you chose what you chose. And so here's the life we live.
Run it again, guys. Hey everybody, welcome to... Hey everybody, my name is Michael.
My name's Cleve.
And welcome back to an exciting episode of Friendship
Supreme. I almost was like going to say friendship, like take it from you. Supreme. Stupid bitch. Take that.
We're the podcast that dares to ask, the fuck do you say?
That's fair. We're in February now. We celebrated us, and it was our 200th episode. And episode 201 will be in Black History Month, and we will be discussing important moments for people of color in TV. I'm choosing all the episodes. Don't worry, Michael's not involved. The first episode I'm deciding to go into, first of all, the show, Static Shock. Right? Yeah, good old Static Shock. Hey. The episode is season 1, episode 8, Sons of the Fathers. I'm going to watch it with me. Just talk about the show a little bit. First off, Static Shock is another hero, a black kid who controls lightning.
What?
So we've never talked about that before. What do you think about that? That's weird, right?
It's weird.
Like,
there's something behind it.
But what?
I think
like,
it's
what?
It's unfortunately I think it's a racist thing.
Well,
what?
I mean, yeah, right. What's not? But why is it the go-to? Well, I say it's the go-to, but I can only think of 3.
Black Lightning, Static Shock, Storm. I feel like we could really if we dug down.
If we dug into it, yeah. And I've never understood it, and it's one of those things that's always stood out to me, but not like something that I've dug into, like you were saying. Static Shock started in Milestone Comics. I don't know how much you know about Static. But he was not part of the DC world in the beginning.
Yeah.
He was not planned to be part of the DC world. And the show did so well that they were like, yeah, come on over. In fact, in season 2, episode 1, he teams up with Batman and Robin. So you went from not even they make jokes, I think. So you watched episode 8. I went ahead and watched 1 through 8 because I wanted to make sure if there was anything that we questioned that I would know. Rewatched, of course. And when he's picking his costume, he dresses up like Black Lightning with the tie and then the lightning bolts in the ears. And so they make references, jokes, and because it's like Milestone, I guess, was a subsidiary.
Because you could do that. You can make jokes if you're not a part of it.
He was like, let's...
Yeah, they have a couple adventures with Batman. And Batman Beyond as well, if I remember correctly.
And the Justice League and Joker and Harley Quinn. Yeah, the DC animated universe, they're like full-fledged part of.
WB,
and I think,
dog. Fucking WB sucked that up and was like, let's make this happen.
In fact, he was part of some Justice League episodes also. Which is interesting. So the double sides of the coin there. It's funny that now I think about that too, because it was only WB, and I was thinking about how Spider-Man kind of crossed over to different stuff, but that was Fox back then.
Fox Kids.
I wonder if, like, could you have a Marvel show on
I'm
WB, or
trying
was
to
that
think
like
of
a
what he crossed over into though.
Spider-Man?
Uh huh.
He was in the X-Men.
Mm.
Or I
But
guess the
also owned
X-Men
by
were in his
Fox.
shit.
Yeah,
I don't know if he went to their
that's
shows.
fair. I do remember. I think it was
But yeah,
the
remember they
Saviors.
went to
But that's what
space. It
it's
was like a
about.
big chess match.
Yeah.
People were strong beings were involved.
Uh, the I think it's second, maybe third season. The theme song for Static Shock, by the way, gets way better. Same beat, just we threw lyrics into it, and I was
Hey, 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 hey.
eventually there's a whole freestyle about how great Static Shock is, and I really appreciated it.
I was explaining to Jennifer. I was like, anytime you hear, hey, 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 I was like, he's about to throw it out. He's about to get after it.
Sure as fuck is.
Um, Voiced by Phil Lamar,
One of the greats.
one of the greats. Imagine being able to do Static Shock and Jonathan Stewart.
Yeah,
First of all, the range, but like the historic people. That's who people know you for. You know what I mean? Like
he
that holds weight.
also did Hermes.
Yeah, did an episode on Phil Lamar. So
We did a whole
check that out
episode on
too.
Phil Lamar. Go check it out. Phil Lamar
And
himself fucking liked it.
he did like it.
He liked it so hard.
The vindication, baby.
Even if none of you ever like it again, Phil Lamar liking it is all that fucking mattered.
Yeah, basically. Also in the comics, in the show, he doesn't mention it at all in the episode you watched. His mother passed away.
Mm-hmm.
5 years ago from the first episode even airing, or from when the first episode takes place. In the comics, she's in the whole thing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cartoon show I feel well versed enough. Comic book, nothing. Absolutely.
Me neither, really. In the comics, Richie was not his friend, or Richie was not his like, I know your secret friend. It was Frida, who was a love interest of his in the show, and Richie was like just a side character that like was also there.
One of the nice things about Static Shock, and it's unfortunate, and I think even Static Shock, the character, experiences this, is that it is a medium used to talk about things that happen that it shouldn't have to be the medium for. Like, it shouldn't have to be softly, like, walking you into this. Much like
Right.
he shouldn't have necessarily had to be the one that's, like, comforting his friend because his dad is shitty. And I think in that era, that was more common than not. Was like people were feeling like they were having to make you feel okay. And like it'd be like me being like, "Hey, Cleve, you know I'm not racist, right? Like, I need you to like talk to me. I'm just so affected by all the racism going on in the world. I need you to calm me down. You don't hate me as a white person, right?
You're the one that ran away from home and needed to be comforted.
Right.
Yeah.
It was weird. I kept expecting them to show us his dad's occupation because I can't remember what it is. The way he talks, it sounds like a fucking construction worker. I was waiting for him to be a cop. Like that would have been what would have really driven it home for me.
It would have been one of those things where it's like man, this aged beautifully.
Yeah. Well, it's like this whole thing like, yeah, I got to deal with him at work and now I got to deal with him at home. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And now next thing we're going to see is you driving around in a cop car looking for your kid.
No playing no rap music in my house. It teaches you to be disrespectful.
But I mean that's just it. Like
Will Smith raps? No.
they got upstairs and he was like, "Hey, I'm really sorry about what my dad said." He's like, "No, it's okay. Like my dad doesn't like rap." Like it's the constantly having to comfort him that was weird.
Yeah.
It's and unfortunately I think was a vibe at one point. Like that was how things went.
Well, okay, so so you invite me to dinner. So the sister calls him out and it's like, "Hey, you eat a lot of our fucking food. Go to your place." And Virgil was like, Why don't we ever go to your place?" And he's like, "You know what? Friday works." And then in his head, he's like, "Because my dad works nights on Fridays." Um, and then surprise, dad comes home. At what point do you give me that warning? Because
Heads
like
up.
I I saw it as Virgil was kind of like, it's I'm sure it's not that. I'm sure it's something else, like trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. You should have then been like, "No, no, my dad's racist." Like
Right. I'm sure.
he yeah, he's like that towards black people all the time.
I'm sure the hope was that he didn't say anything that dinner, and then you got out of the obligation of having your one interaction with my family, and we'll never see them again.
Yeah, one and done, huh?
What's funny is, so I knew that this episode dealt with that, and I remembered, like, in the back of my head, I remember it dealing with racism, and like, was like, okay, that's where we're gonna go with this. And what's funny is, I, for a brief moment, thought, all right, this is gonna be Virgil and Richie actually fighting, because I swear he looked at her and goes, "Sisters," and Static looks at him with that look. And it was the look of him going, "Oh yeah, we don't ever have dinner at your house." But it was a look that was like, "The fuck did you say?" Like almost like you felt too comfortable in this area and you crossed the
Right.
line. And I was like, And then he was like, "No, we should be having." He's like, "My sister's right," and I'm like, "Oh, okay. I know where we're going with this." But it was just
Nah,
so.
man, best friends to the end.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so aside from the actual social issue, Ebon is the worst fucking villain in the world. You're telling me you're like this is 101 right here, right? Villainy 101. I hear Static Shock talking to someone as a human being, like an unmasked person, saying, "We're best friends forever. Doesn't matter what's gonna happen between us. We're always gonna be best
Ever
friends."
since we were kids.
Yeah, I'm not kidnapping Richie right then and there. I am following him home. Who the fuck are you talking to? Oh, what's that, Virgil? Let me go ahead and now I know, and now you've been unmasked, and now everything's ruined.
Well, and I want to say, I'm not 100%, but I want to say Yvonne is someone that Virgil knows
Mm-hmm.
as Virgil.
Mm.
And if you know him as Virgil, you know his friend Richie. What are we doing?
Even better, yeah. Even better. Yeah. So like, not
Oh,
the
you're
best
talking about
villain.
powers. I thought the powers were cool.
Powers are cool. You know what?
Yeah.
The whole brigade. I don't mind them. I think it's an interesting. The
Yeah.
the comic book was. I mean, the series, the animated series, was done really well. DC was super smart picking it up. I think in the comic book industry, like I think it's done decent. Like I don't think it's a bad title. I think it exists.
People
still.
have a lot of fond memories of Static Shock.
So like I think it was a solid call on their part. I just
Yeah.
I think they should do more. Obviously, we've talked about that before. I don't think they do enough with that particular property.
Maybe James Gunn will put it on the big screen.
Well, now people are prophesizing or really pushing their dream role of Michael B. Jordan playing Static Shock.
Now, I did see something like that. I think you can get a kid. I think you can
I agree. I think that would
get
be
a young
better.
kid.
I think that would
Yeah.
be way better. I also think Michael B. Jordan can't be wrong. I mean, he did Fantastic
No.
Four, and I still like him.
He's got, you can't be fucking Apollo Creed's son and fucking Static Shock. Like,
That's fair.
you can't be old enough for this, but young enough for, I don't know.
But
Maybe you can. What do I know?
it unfortunately is a very real situation that exists every day. We've talked about this before, that old people, and they often get away with this. Not even just old people. I don't want to blanket it that way because I don't think that's fair. Because I think there's a lot of shitty people, young and old. But a lot of people get away with like, well, that's how I was raised. That was what was around me. Like, and again, I go back to I think Virgil and his dad kind of like, well, that's how they are. Like, you got to teach them the better way. Take the high road, and I get that. And I think it's great that we can teach our youth to like take the high road, but at the same time, like it's not their job to do that. Like,
Right.
It just sucks that it's like, oh well, we got to do it because if we don't do it, then who will?
Well, and it might be something we don't talk too much about. Right, like we've had our race talks and whatnot, but I don't know if you see it the same way that I see it, and that is that typically black people have to take that road.
Right.
We don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Right. It's like I think the best example that a lot of people have seen enough of is the movie 42 with Chadwick Boseman, where he's like, if they hit you and you hit back, it's not this guy punched this baseball player. It's this black guy can't control his temper. Yeah. So getting into it, getting upset, getting riled up, it doesn't do you any good. And you see Virgil's father handle it just the whole episode. Right. Just the whole episode, he's dealing with his ignorance. The whole time, it's never questioning it. And he's like, I know your son better than you know your son. You don't even know who his friends are. You only have heard about us. And he kept a detail away from you because of how you are.
Right.
So, and he's like, I don't need your help. It's like, you don't even know the first place to go. What are you going to do?
No, and I certainly acknowledge that, and we've talked similar sports for the most part. Usually, it comes out, but I think that, and yes, and I acknowledge that is the scenario, and that's kind of the unfortunate burden, and I think that was kind of my point. Is not so much that, I don't get why they weren't outraged or why they weren't, dealing with it differently. It's more of how unfair and sucky it is as a society that it's still that expectation and almost white fragility, I guess, that yes, is it for his own survival that Virgil and Robert, his dad, are the way that they are and handled the situation the way that they handled it? Yes. Is it fair that society has put that burden upon them and it's simply because we don't want Richie to feel bad?
Yeah.
Like, that's the part that it's like, it sucks because Static Shock, not only this, they talk about other social thing. I think it's one of the better cartoons as far as...
This cartoon goes fucking hard.
Yeah.
This cartoon tackles school shootings, mental health in the youth and homelessness, and unhoused, and how a lot of times that can be connected. I think we talked about how his mom's alive in the comic. I want to say she passes from she catches a stray bullet trying to help somebody as a first responder, and so that's why he is so against guns, is because that it tackles a bunch of shit all of its seasons and what have you.
It is a very well used vessel to discuss social issues and the climate issues, social climate issues.
And when you could,
what
back then when you could.
I just think that it sucks that the best we have is something that's hey, make sure you check on, make sure your friend feels okay. I don't know. I wish that we would teach, and now, I mean, it was 15, 20 years ago, so now we do, or maybe now is the time to do so, is to push the idea that, forcing the mature growth of like owning, knowing that like something shitty happened to you, as far as like, yeah, but acknowledge there's other things going on around you and be able to resolve it on your own. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with it at this point.
Can you believe this came out in 2000?
Yeah, that's
Long time
fucking
ago.
nuts. I think it's a really good episode. I think it's solid. I think it unfortunately shines the mirror back at things that happen that are still happening 23 fucking years later.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that the that Static, you're right. Static was like super. It's okay. Don't worry about it. And I get it because he goes, "How can I blame you for what your dad said?" Like,
Yeah,
so I
absolutely.
mean, it's not like I'm gonna stop being friends with you. Again, heads up would have been cool, but I get you. Um, but just the way that the dad was like, I feel like the dad put him in his place every time he opened his fucking mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and that felt good.
Yeah.
It always feels good when someone like that gets theirs, and it's not like anything terrible happened to him.
Right.
But when he's like, yeah, we're black, and that would have changed your opinion on how great your son speaks of us. You don't even know who he is. I think he says, you have an amazing son. Your son ran away from you a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, I bet that fucking hurt.
That
That's
was a
what you
deep
get.
cut. Yep.
Sack of shit.
No, and I think at one point in time he was, the guy was commenting on the transient, the people that were all in that abandoned building, and they were
Yeah.
like, he said something along the lines of, who could trust these people, blah blah blah. He's like, most of these people or most of these kids are kids that had small disagreements with their family but couldn't see eye to eye and just thought it's better to be gone than fucking be with their families.
Yep.
He's like, so
And
your
and this
kid,
is where we're looking for your son.
right? Yeah, it's No, I like Virgil and Richie's relationship. I've always thought it was a great relationship in the cartoon, obviously.
Yeah.
No, I've always applauded Static Shock for being able to tackle situations, and especially for the audience that it was geared towards. I mean, you're talking about a eight plus audience. Like it's not an easy road to go down. I told you the other day that I read fucking Martin Luther King biography and the story of Ruby Bridges to my daughter, who's 6
Yeah.
or who's 5, will be turning 6, and
You're old.
shit, dog, I am. But like, it's not easy. That's not easy to talk to your kids about, and so
Right.
for them to bring that in that medium is both good and a weight that is nicely taken by superheroes. I guess it's a nice medium to push at your kids.
Yeah. It's funny because I remember like I'm like, this is episode 8. Like
Right.
this went hard for 7 goofy ass episodes before. Like I'm watching it and I'm like, this is still good, but like yeah, it was a cartoon for kids in 2000. Like it's exactly what it is. And then you just hit this one where I got to deal with them at work. Now I got to deal with them in my home. Like, all right, cool.
I really thought when they were looking for him, he was going to be in a cop car.
I guess I could look up what they do. Yeah, no. This episode has stuck with me since I've seen it when I was little, and I think it's just it. I wanted to see if maybe I saw it differently, and you're right. I do see it as why am I fucking holding your hand? Like, I'm the one blindsided. You
You knew
you had a heads up.
Yeah.
You let me walk past this door and hear this shit and not have an idea that. And I'm like, yeah, it's cool. I'll just walk home. It's still early. Don't even worry about it. Like, that's cool. And the mom, I'm sure he's hit her. I don't want to say it, but like, he gives that vibe off. Like she looked at the dinner table, they looked scared of him. And I don't know if it's like, no, dad's not dad today, or if it was like just
I think it
the
was
straight
Hope Dad's
racism of
Not
it.
Dad, but I see what you're saying.
I mean, he felt like a shit. I mean, and at the end of it, there's like a full, 180 that he pulls. But
Unfortunately, they do label him as Irish American, and that is a really awful stereotype that exists within the Irish community. So I'm hoping they did make him a wife beater, but
I don't remember him being a problem later on in
he
episodes.
only makes two
Also,
other appearances and then
although
is mentioned
also
once.
not sure we ever saw him
Yeah.
again. Reggie, just come to my house. It's fine. We'll do this shit.
Yeah, I mean, after
Netflix.
that, I think that at that point, Virgil's like, "Yeah, you're right. We'll just hang out at my house." Like, here's the thing. Here's sort of the thing. I agree with you. Like, where was the heads up, right? But at the same time, I had a friend all the time hung out at our house, all the time, was always at my
Okay.
house. And like anytime my mom would bring up his family, would bring up his house, anything, it was
Shut
squashed
it down.
quickly.
Okay.
And so like in my head, I was just like, we just don't talk about it. Something like that. This is where he wants to be. I'm good with it. Like let's just have that be what it is.
Okay.
And so I feel like maybe we should have just left it the fuck alone. Like,
His sister should have shut her trap. Got it.
like,
Yeah.
his Virgil should have been like, "Oh, my sister's just being a bitch to be a bitch." I get it. Like, haha, it's funny to pick on my friends, but like, maybe he doesn't want to go home. Yeah, for all you know, maybe he's getting beat.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't like, "Oh, my dad's a racist." Maybe it's, "I'm getting the shit kicked out of me."
And they have the very obvious like he's a sports guy, he's a nerdy kid, like
Mm-hmm.
relationship or whatever, right? They don't get along. He's like, they're going to a comic convention. He's like, I've always kind of wondered about these little things, if I'm being honest, because nobody's allowed to have their inner geek back then, especially not a grown man.
If you guys have any interesting topics you guys would like us to talk about after February, let us know. If you have a moment in TV history that you think is important enough for us to talk about, comment down below. But do it quickly because we're recording these episodes every day, so or every week. So get on it. Hopefully, you guys
Every day.
every day. If you guys don't already know how to reach us, you guys can reach out to us through all of our social medias. They are all Friendship Supreme except for Twitter. Twitter is just Friendship Supreme with no eyes because all eyes should be on us. Over at youtube.com/Friendship Supreme or twitch.tv/Friendship Supreme as well. Where if you want to watch us play video games, hang out with us, and talk shit. If you want to talk shit to us live, that's where to do it. It's
An option? What? You crazy?
Sunday through Wednesday, and then also, Sunday through Tuesday, and then also Thursday at 10 p.m. Central Time. Hopefully, you guys had a great.
Random day.
Hopefully, you guys a little teaser. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this episode. I've been Michael.
This is Cleve. We'll bring a shock to your system.